With the digital eShops for PlayStation 3, PSP, and PS Vita closing this summer, I thought it'd be appropriate to discuss some of the Monster Taming games that currently exist for the platforms that will become unavailable shortly. Today's video will specifically be focusing on the PlayStation Vita, as this console in particular is one of, if not my personal favorite handheld consoles, and it honestly pains me to know that this is it for PlayStation handhelds, and finding games for the console are going to become especially difficult moving forward. That said, with the help of members of our Discord, especially 20111 and Hermarlin, we've compiled a list of currently available Monster Taming games, or games with Monster Taming elements, that you could still get your hands on until August 17th. So yeah, as per the usual, take a seat, relax, and let's dive right in. Okay, so let's start things off with what many consider to be a classic Monster Taming title despite it not being that old, and that's World of Final Fantasy, a spin-off of the popular Final Fantasy series. This game grabs characters from across the Final Fantasy franchise and meshes them together in this JRPG monster taming adventure. Capture, evolve, and stack various monsters and engage in dynamic turn-based battles. The stacking system is especially interesting as it almost acts like a fusion mechanic, combining strengths but also weaknesses. So if monster taming JRPGs with a major focus on story are your jam, make sure to pick this one up while you can. Next up, we have a game series known as Invizimals, a pretty interesting franchise overall, as it actually draws a lot of comparisons to Pokemon Go before 2016. Being a Sony exclusive IP, this also furthers the sort of urgency to get a hold of some of these games, as they'll likely be lost to time once the eShop closes. These games feature an AR-based monster taming experience, with you, the player, finding various items and monsters known as Invizimals, aka invisible animals, throughout the real world, and you can utilize them in battle against AI or battle online with your friends, though, like I said, the online is shutting down for the eShop, so there's definitely that to consider. That said, the game also features an evolution mechanic, a battle system somewhat reminiscent of the Pokemon franchise, and some really wacky yet interesting designs. The franchise includes a combination of PSP and PS Vita titles, and the following are available for download: the original Invizimals, Invizimals Shadow Zone, Invizimals The Alliance, Invizimals The Lost Tribes, and Invizimals The Resistance. Depending on where you look, the ratings for this game are vastly different, with one platform giving the game a 5 out of 5 and then the others giving it a 2.5 out of 5, so take with that what you will. I've seen people say it's a better version of Pokemon Go because Pokemon Go is just basically Ingress with a Pokemon skin, but you'll have to decide that for yourself. Next up is another PS Vita exclusive franchise, and that's going to be Demon Gaze, a somewhat more debatable title as to whether or not it's a Monlight or a full-fledged monster tamer, but basically the game draws some similarities to Persona in that you have your typical JRPG party members, but you also have the ability to capture and summon demons in battle to fight alongside you, utilize various abilities, etc. The actual human characters also have their own special moves and or abilities, and can summon demons during their turn phase, if that makes any sense. The game gives me heavy Final Fantasy vibes, so if you're a fan of Final Fantasy, you definitely might want to check this one out. Now, speaking of Persona, you can actually get access to every Persona game from 1 to 4 Golden via the built-in PSP emulator, and for 4 Golden, you can just get it as a standard Vita game. You can also get Persona 2 Eternal Punishment as a PS1 classic as well, so plenty of Persona content here with a total of 5 games. When searching for Persona titles from 1 to 3, I'd say just to type in Shin Megami Tensei in the store, as I found that was the easiest way to locate them, and then the other 2 you could just search Persona. If you just type in Persona while trying to find all of them, you'll end up getting berated by all the dancing games, so definitely watch out for that. Now, that said, if you didn't know, the Persona franchise is actually a spin-off of the SMT franchise, featuring generally more lighthearted themes, although they're no strangers of death. The game features personas as opposed to summoning demons. However, the general idea is the same, that you capture and utilize them in a JRPG combat style. I mean, Persona is pretty popular, so I'm assuming most people have at least heard of it, and I think getting the older titles on Vita would be a great way to experience the games for the first time. Next on our list is the Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory games, which, from what I've played so far, are quite great. Throughout this game, you must travel in and out of the internet and collect and battle alongside various Digimon in order to uncover corporate corruption. You can scan and summon various Digimon to your team, digivolve and grow with your team, and enjoy turn-based combat with a deep narrative plot. I'm still in the process of playing this one myself, and I might have spoiled a little too much of the story while doing research for this video, but I do gotta say I highly recommend this one. The Siralim franchise is nothing new to this channel, as we've been covering various updates regarding the most recent title in early access, being Siralim Ultimate. Now that said, maybe you want to experience the Siralim franchise from where it began, and luckily for you, you can do just that with Siralim and Siralim 2 both being available for PS Vita. Siralim is a heavily complex monster taming RPG focusing on an infinite amount of looting and leveling, various dungeons to explore, a 6v6 combat system with hundreds of monsters, and more. Each game in the franchise builds upon each other. However, I can guarantee you that you'll be surprised with how much depth and complexity is intertwined even into the first title of the franchise. I personally have enjoyed bringing Siralim 2 to work with me on my Vita and would definitely recommend it to anyone who wants a more strategic monster taming experience. Alright, so this next game's a little bit weird, but I'll include it here because it technically falls under the monster taming umbrella, and that's Conception 2, a JRPG sort of story-driven dating sim that allows you to fight using children. I'm not even kidding here. I know the genre is called monster taming, but in this case, your monsters are children created by a combination of your divine powers as some OP dude and through having a relationship with various female companions. I mean, the game's called Conception, so I don't really know what I was expecting when going into this. That said, the game features some pretty nice animated cutscenes, bonding mechanics, a tactical battle system, and more. So if you want to date and conceive children, then force them to fight on your behalf, then there you go, I got you covered. Alright, so the last game on today's list is The Lost Child, a monster taming game inspired by Shin Megami Tensei. Within the game, you must capture and tame astrals and fight alongside them in combat against enemies you encounter. The game functions much like the original SMT, where it's sort of like a dungeon crawler situated in a first-person perspective. The game does feature evolution as well, which is pretty cool, and from what I've seen, it's a great appetizer for SMT-like games, as it's much easier than any mainline SMT title. So yeah, guys, there you have it. Those were 8 monster taming franchises to check out on PlayStation Vita before the store closes. If you add up all the games that are available within the same franchise, for example, there are 5 Persona games, 5 Invizimals games, etc., you end up with 19 titles total. So while it's not the largest library of monster taming games, it's still a decent amount and is respectable, especially considering the age of the console existing before the big boom in monster taming games. That said, I just wanted to say again, special thanks to Hermarlon and 2111 and everyone else who helped put this list together. If you are a fan of the monster taming, or perhaps you know it as monster catching, Pokemon-like, monster raising, whatever genre, subscribe to this channel because I do upload daily monster taming content. I always keep you guys updated on everything in the genre. You can follow me on Twitter at GymLeaderEd, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.